This is a download from BFM 89.9, the business station.
7:18 in the morning, you're listening to The Morning Run on Wednesday, the 8th of June. I'm Shazana Mokhtar with Wong, Shou, Ning. So ever since the electoral performances of the UMNO-led Barisan Nasional in the Malacca and Johor state elections, pressure has been mounting on Prime Minister Dato Sri Ismail Sabri by the UMNO top brass to dissolve Parliament to make way for GE15. It isn't really due until May of next year, though.
But the Prime Minister, who came to power on the back of support from non-Barisan Nasional MPs such as Percolate Nasional and GPS, reiterated that he would only call for an election when the time is right. And what does that mean, right? In the meantime, speculation that Finance Minister Tunku Zafrul will contest for the Kuala Selangor parliamentary seat on an UMNO ticket has been building since he recently announced the adoption of Kuala Selangor under his ministry and that an ECRL station was slated to be built in Puncak Alam. Now, the parliamentary seat is currently held by Amanah's Dato Sri Zulkifli Ahmad, who said that he's not running in GE15, making way for younger leaders.
So will Ismail Sabri finally buck under the pressure of his party president and call for elections in the coming months? What will be the scenarios that pave the way for a secure UMNO win? Or can the opposition finally unite to take back Putrajaya? So we're going to run through the different permutations of what could happen with Dr. James Chin, Professor of Asian Studies at the University of Tasmania. James, good morning. Thanks as always for joining us. Now, it seems like we're seeing UMNO right now in the midst of a power struggle, with one side calling for early elections and the other side more muted into going ahead with GE15. So how long does Ismail Sabri have before the split within UMNO becomes bigger? What's your read of it? Do you think GE15 will be called by the year's end?
Good morning. So yes, I think GE will have to be called by year's end for a lot of reasons, primarily because the faction in UMNO led by Najib and Zahid is hell-bent on holding the GE before the end of the year, primarily because, as you know, they've got lots of corruption trials happening at the moment. They've got the appeal in the appeals court. So all this will basically either get started or will be decided by the end of the year. So they need to get this election out of the way. Because if they will be found guilty or the appeal goes the wrong way, this will have a huge impact on the election. So I've no doubt that they're going to apply tremendous pressure on Ismail Sabri to get the elections out of the way. The wider picture is, of course, they want the elections simply because they think that the UMNO momentum generated by Malacca, Johor, and the airline in Sarawak is going to push them across the line. So I've spoken to UMNO people recently, and they're very gung-ho. Basically, Barisan Nasional is gunning for 2/3 majority. So yes, the spirit is high. I don't think the split in UMNO is as big as people say. It's basically two groups. One group is piling on all the pressure, and I think the other group will buckle very soon.
Okay, James, I've actually got two questions for you, but I'll go one by one. First one, do you think that they can get 2/3 majority?
It depends on when the elections are called. It's always dicey to try to predict. I don't usually make my predictions until we're 2 or 3 days before polling. That's when you can catch the mood of the people. But what I can say is that there's clearly a momentum on UMNO's side. The members, their spirits are very high. The machinery is really humming along. And of course, their biggest advantage is that the opposition is highly divided at this moment.
Okay, my second question is, will Ismail Sabri then remain as Prime Minister of Malaysia if UMNO does win GE15?
That answer can easily be answered. It depends on the margin of victory. If UMNO wins very big, UMNO stroke Barisan Nasional plus his supporters, if they get 2/3 majority, it's highly, highly unlikely that Ismail Sabri will stay on the job. But if UMNO scraps through with a bare majority, anything is possible.
Okay, and if it's not Ismail Sabri, then who is it? Who is going to be the candidate?
That's a really good question. Again, it depends on the margin of victory. If the margin of victory is very big, I suspect something will happen and somebody very famous will get a pardon and he may be in a position to go back to Sri Perdana.
Aha, okay. So a lot of uncertainties in what could happen, but anything could happen, it sounds like, at this stage. James, we were seeing rumors about a possible UMNO faction teaming up with Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim to form a new government. What do you make of that rumor? I mean, honestly, it seems quite unlikely that grassroots supporters in both UMNO and PKR would support such a move.
Well, the first thing I should say is that people shouldn't be spreading rumors. It's not a good thing to spread rumors of Malaysian politics. Right, okay.
I don't think you can. Yeah, I don't think it's possible, James.
So anyway, well, I'll start off by saying that the elites in all the political parties, including the political parties in the opposition, right, they never care about the grassroots anyway. So it really doesn't matter what the grassroots think. Look, is it possible for them to get together? The answer is yes. It all depends on who the nominee is for the prime minister. I mean, people keep attacking this idea that, it's not possible, it's not possible. People forget that, after the two failed attempts by Anwar to become the prime minister, he did come up with letters signed by UMNO MPs saying that they will support him. In fact, a couple of the letters were signed by very, very senior UMNO members. And the UMNO members have never denied that they did not sign those papers. Look, everything is possible. People are maneuvering because everybody knows that GE15 is a crucial election for Malaysia. People are trying to position themselves so they will be inside the government next round. So yes, anything is possible. We have a very short time or short frame in order to put the coalition together. So everybody is talking to each other. Whether these talks will lead to something is a separate issue. But yes, people are talking in the shadows, and some of these talks are actually held outside Malaysia.
Oh, okay, interesting. And talking about maneuvering, there is speculation that Tunku Zafrul will contest in GE15. I think those noises have become even louder after he has adopted Kuala Selangor. What do you think about it? Do you think he's going to run there?
Well, he's definitely going to run. The reason why he has to run is that this is the only way to protect his job as the finance minister. Don't forget, he's not elected representative. He was given a senatorship in, if I'm not mistaken, 2020. And in the Malaysian context, you can only be a senator for 2 terms, 6 years. In other words, his senatorship finishes sometime in 2026. Assuming that the current government gets back into power, this means that he can only serve as finance minister in 2026, which doesn't work for the incoming government. So the only way he can survive the game is he becomes an MP, and it's almost impossible to remove an MP unlike a senator, because a senator is an appointed post. So yes, he's definitely going to try to be MP. Whether it's Kuala Selangor or another state, I'm not so sure. But it is true that his boys are running around Kuala Selangor. It's very much sort of fishing expedition. We see the same thing with our good friend KJ. KJ is looking for a seat around Selangor and KL because he's been kicked out of Rembau. So everyone is fishing around looking for the best spot, coming GE15.
And switching over to another recent development, we did see Datuk Zuraida Kamarudin jump ship to join Parti Bangsa Malaysia. She's also announced that she's planning to defend her seat in Ampang. What does this move mean for Bersatu and Tan Sri Muhyiddin's influence going into GE15? And I guess, side note, do you think that Zuraida can defend her seat under a new party banner?
She'll definitely try. Look, the reality is that we shouldn't read too much into this. I don't know why people say she's a Bersatu member, because, as you know, right, she was part of the gang that sort of jumped from Anwar's party during the Sheraton move. So they were looking for a place as a bloc, and it just so happens that Bersatu offered them a place. So she's never really been a Bersatu member. But the fact that she's jumping is, of course, to me, nothing new, because the rumors were already there last year with the setup of PBM that this was one of the parties associated with Asming Ali and Zuraida's group. So I'm not surprised that she jumps over there, but I'm 100% sure that she's going to try to defend her seat. The problem is that PBM is largely unknown among the Malaysian public. And the Malaysian public, in some ways, even in places like Ampang, they vote according to logo. Okay. So she really has to introduce the logo very, very quickly.
Okay, James, since you got 20 seconds, but why is there musical chairs going on in UMNO with regards to parliamentary seats? Since you say KJ is kicked out Rembau.
Yes. Well, the reason is everyone is positioning themselves because people are not sure which of the two factions that's going to come back in power. And also the way it works in UMNO is that whoever is coming back in power is going to take a big revenge on the other group, because a lot of people in UMNO are very angry about this split.
James, thanks very much for speaking to us this morning. That was Dr. James Chin, Professor of Asian Studies at the University of Tasmania, laying out for us just the different scenarios that could take place. A lot of uncertainties, but a lot of wrangling and maneuvering. As you called it, Shou Ning, it's a musical chairs, what James has described to us. And it's really, when will the music stop? Who gets the seat?
Never stops.
That's the big question.
The music never stops.
Stay tuned, BFM 89.9.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To find more great interviews, go to bfm.my or find us on iTunes. BFM 89.9, the business station.